from investigation should be relentlessly pursued in every discipline. And tonight we have two men who believe that they do indeed have the truth, and they want to convince you that their philosophy that they embrace for themselves and that they share with others is indeed the right one. And so tonight we have Eddie Tabash and William Craig, and they'll be debating secular humanism versus Christianity. Which one is true? And that is indeed the great debate. Here to introduce tonight's debaters and outline the rules is Pepperdine debate coach Greg Aiken. Please welcome him.
We are here tonight to hear a debate about a controversy that has persisted for centuries, but is still extremely relevant today. That debate is Christianity versus secular humanism. Tonight, defending Christianity will be Dr. William Craig. Dr. Craig holds 2 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in theology. He's taught for a number of years in Germany, a number of years in Belgium. He's currently a professor of philosophy at the Talbot School of Theology. Dr. Craig has authored over a dozen books on the subject of theology and philosophy and almost 100 scholarly articles on the issue. Defending secular humanism will be Mr. Eddie Tabash. Mr. Tabash graduated magna cum laude from UCLA and also graduated from Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. He is currently an attorney in private practice in Beverly Hills, as also a part-time municipal judge for the city of Los Angeles. Mr. Tabash is extremely politically active with the California Democratic Party and has also run for office for this California State Assembly. In addition to his other activism, Mr. Tabash is the outreach chair for the Los Angeles branch of the Council for Secular Humanism, and he is officially representing that council in tonight's debate. The rules for the debate are as follows. Each speaker will have a 20-minute opening statement, which will then be followed by a 10-minute rebuttal, and finally by a 5-minute closing presentation. We ask that you hold your applause and any comments that you would have until the end of the closing presentations. At the end of those closing presentations, there will be a 20-minute question and answer period. And so you might want to think about questions that you would like to ask the speakers during that time period. I will be moderating the debate, and I will be keeping time for the debate as well, for the debaters. So, if we could have Dr. Craig and Mr. Tabash shake hands, we can get things started. Mr. Tabash won the toss and is elected to speak first. Mr. Tabash.
Good evening. I want to thank Pepperdine for putting on this debate. Dr. Craig and I are splitting the difference tonight. We are at a Christian university, but in my home area of Malibu, and it's an honor for me to finally get to debate such an eminent Christian apologist. Tonight, I'm going to defend the proposition that the great weight of the evidence in the physical world around us demonstrates that Christianity is not true and that secular humanism is true. Now, in order to prevail in tonight's debate, Dr. Craig must establish that what exists is the God that sends you to hell forever, regardless of how good you are, just for not believing in Jesus. I offered Dr. Craig the opportunity to debate on the topic of whether God exists, and he insisted on defending Christianity. Thus, even if he were able to establish that some generic universal God exists, that would not help him tonight, because he must establish the existence of this partisan Christian God. I want to begin by pointing out problems generally with supernatural claims. If I were to tell you that 2,000 years ago an ancient warrior was seen by a number of people to divide himself into 3 separate but complete replicas of himself, and have all 3 of those identical selves fight side by side in battle, flying through the air and killing enemy warriors with a beam of light emanating from their eyes, you probably would not believe me. But the main reason you would not believe me is that the scenario I have just described violates the laws of nature as our experience has come to understand those laws. In no context other than my story about this supposed event a long time ago do we ever encounter evidence that such things occur. Similarly, in no context other than the unprovable hearsay of primitive ancient people as set forth in ancient writings, the truthfulness of which we cannot even begin to verify, do we encounter claims that the supernatural occurrences which undergird Christianity have occurred. Jesus' resurrection from the dead and ascending into heaven has never been a testable or repeatable phenomenon in our world. Further, the claim that our eternal salvation is dependent upon our believing the miraculous stories about Jesus is also an unprovable assertion. So let the resurrection happen again today, but under verifiable conditions. If such a singularly unique violation of the laws of nature, as we understand such laws, such as Jesus' resurrection from the dead, did occur, and belief in that occurrence is the precondition of our eternal salvation, it is grossly unfair of God to expect us to rely only upon the hearsay of primitive ancient people that such an event happened. As the philosopher James Keller, who I think is a Christian, has written, why should God expect us today to seriously consider something when God would not expect contemporaries of the event to seriously consider it without a miracle? 2,000 years ago, there were none of the sophisticated means of verification that exist today. We contemporary people cannot be reasonably expected to believe the rantings of primitives in such a superstitious era without more direct evidence. It would be only fair if God would repeat such miraculous events so that we can verify them today. Jesus should come back, be crucified again. This time, his body should lie not in some obscure tomb for 3 days, but should fly at some scientifically advanced research institution with the greatest scientists observing and examining him to make sure that he is indeed dead. Then he should resurrect and make an announcement that he will ascend into heaven from the steps of the U.S. Capitol. He should give a couple days' notice of this ascension in order for all the media to have their cameras ready. This way, our networks could announce, Jesus resurrects, film at 11. The event would be recorded on film. Thousands would also gather to watch it happen live. After taking to the air, Jesus should also fly by every world capital and visit each of the world's leaders before heading upward toward heaven. In Luke 24:10-11, it says that the disciples did not believe the story told by the women who supposedly went to the tomb. John 20:24-31 says that the disciple Thomas did not believe the others until he supposedly touched the wounds of the supposedly resurrected Jesus. Now these disciples, who were also Jesus' friends and friends with each other, allegedly even saw Jesus' supposed miracles. Were all these people such liars that they couldn't even trust each other? So if even Jesus' supposed friends and alleged eyewitnesses had trouble believing each other, how can we be blamed 2,000 years later for not believing these ancient people who we really cannot directly know? We, the people of the world today, need to feel such wounds or be given other direct evidence in order to believe something otherwise so preposterous. I will now defend the virtue of secular humanism, and by secular humanism I mean an approach to analyzing the natural universe by means of scientific examination and by recourse to direct human experience. Secular humanism is a much more reliable basis than Christianity upon which to build assumptions about the world, because secular humanism allows modifications of currently held positions based on further and better evidence. Secular humanism posits that assertions about the physical universe should be changed in light of improved and more compelling evidence. Christianity, on the other hand, is stuck back there some 2,000 years ago and is not capable of altering any of its assertions, irrespective of how compelling any new evidence would be. Christianity is based on blind faith and will not yield to even the most probative, compelling evidence if that evidence contradicts Christian doctrine.